I didn't find out my relationship was over during a fight. I found out on a random Tuesday night, when he was sitting right next to me, scrolling on his phone, laughing quietly to himself. We had just eaten rice and stew, the same meal we'd been eating every night because we were saving money. I was the one who suggested we save. I was still washing the plates when his phone vibrated again. He didn't hide it. He didn't panic. He just smiled and tilted the phone away from me slightly. That was when something in my chest dropped. Not because I saw anything, but because I felt it. You know that feeling, when your body understands something, your mind is still trying to deny. I dried my hands and sat back on the couch. "Who's that?" I asked casually. He didn't look up, just work. That was his favorite answer, work. Meanwhile, I was the one paying most of the bills. The rent came from my account. The groceries were my card. When he was between jobs, I covered everything. And I didn't complain, because I believed in us. 2 weeks later, his behavior changed. He started coming home later. Not extremely late, just late enough to avoid real conversations. When I talked about the future, he went quiet. When I talked about marriage, he said, "Let's not rush things." But we had been together for 3 years. 3 years of splitting costs. 3 years of emotional support. 3 years of me holding him down while he found himself. I didn't know he had already found someone else. I found out by accident. He left his laptop open one morning when he rushed to the bathroom. I wasn't snooping, I swear. A message popped up on the screen. It wasn't sexual. That's what made it worse. It said, "I can't wait till we finally get our place." Our place. My heart started pounding, because we already had a place. Or so I thought. I clicked the message. I know some people will judge me for that. But if you've ever loved someone deeply, you'll understand. There were months of messages, plans, jokes, complaints about me. He told her I was too emotional, that I stressed him out, that I didn't understand him. Meanwhile, I was the one waking up early to go to work, the one reminding him of interviews, the one encouraging him when he felt useless. And while I was doing all that, he was building a new life with someone else. Quietly. The worst part, she thought he was single. He told her he was just helping a friend with rent. That friend was me. I didn't confront him immediately. I needed time to breathe. That night, we slept in the same bed. He wrapped his arm around me, like always. I stared at the ceiling, feeling like I was lying next to a stranger. My chest hurt. Not dramatic pain. Real pain. The kind that makes it hard to breathe. And that's when I realized something terrifying. He had already left me. I just hadn't moved out yet. I didn't confront him immediately. That's the part people never understand. I needed to be sure. Not because I doubted myself, but because I knew what he would say, that I was imagining things, that I was insecure, that I was looking for problems. So I watched. I watched him start guarding his phone like it was an organ in his body. I watched him step outside to take calls he used to answer in front of me. I watched him smile at his screen and then look annoyed when I walked into the room. At night, he still slept beside me. Same bed, same sheets I bought, same mattress I paid half for, but his body was somewhere else. I started noticing small things first. The way he stopped asking about my day, the way he rushed through conversations, the way everything I said felt like an interruption. Meanwhile, nothing had changed on my end. I was still waking up early, still paying rent on time, still buying groceries, still reminding him about interviews. still encouraging him when he said he felt behind in life. He used to say I was his backbone. Now he said I was too much. One evening, his phone vibrated while he was in the shower. I didn't plan to look, but the screen lit up. A name I didn't recognize. A message preview I couldn't unsee. Did you eat? I'm worried. I just stared at it, because that used to be me. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I put the phone back exactly where it was. That night, he came to bed like nothing happened, put his arm around me, fell asleep. I lay there awake, staring at the ceiling, counting how many months I had been paying rent while slowly being erased. Over the next weeks, I found more. Voice notes, inside jokes, plans that didn't include me, and then the sentence that broke something in me completely. He told her I was too emotional, that I stressed him out, that I didn't understand him. I read that part 3 times, because while he was telling her that I was the one holding his life together, I realized then that I wasn't being cheated on emotionally anymore. I was being replaced. But the worst part, he still needed me, still needed my money, still needed my stability, still needed the home I helped build. I wasn't his partner anymore. I was his safety net, and I stayed. Not because I didn't know my worth, but because leaving meant admitting I had been funding the end of my own relationship, and I wasn't ready to face that yet. The truth didn't come out in a dramatic way. No shouting, no slamming doors. It came out on a normal day, a day that should have meant nothing. I was folding laundry when his sister called. We weren't especially close, but we talked sometimes. She asked how I was doing. I said, I'm fine. She went quiet. Then she said, are you sure? That was the first crack. I asked her what she meant. She hesitated, then said, he didn't tell you. My heart started beating faster, but my voice stayed calm. Tell me what? Another pause. Then she said it. She's pregnant. I sat down on the bed without realizing it. The room didn't spin. I didn't feel dizzy. I just felt empty. I asked her who. She said the name. The same name I had seen on his phone. The same woman who was worried if he had eaten. I thanked her for telling me. That part still shocks people. They expect anger, but I was past that. When he came home that night, I didn't say anything. I watched him take off his shoes, watched him eat the food I cooked, watched him sit on the couch like his life wasn't falling apart. Later, when we were alone, I asked him one question. Is she pregnant? He didn't deny it. Didn't apologize either. He just looked tired, like I was the problem standing in his way. He said, it just happened. I laughed, because nothing just happens for 9 months. He said he didn't mean for it to go that far, that it was complicated, that he was confused. I asked him one thing. Were you planning to tell me? He didn't answer. That silence told me everything. He had already made plans. Plans that didn't include me, and yet I was still paying rent, still sharing a bed, still acting like his partner, while he was preparing to start a family with someone else. I asked him what he wanted. He said, I don't know, but I did. He wanted time, time to figure things out, time to keep his life comfortable, time to use me as long as he could. That night, I slept on the edge of the bed, not because there wasn't space, but because I finally understood something painful. We weren't together anymore. I was just the last thing he hadn't let go of yet. And the next morning, I woke up knowing something had to change. Not tomorrow, not soon, but now. I didn't tell anyone at first. Not my friends. Not my family. I kept moving like everything was normal. I went to work, paid bills, cooked dinner, and every day he acted more distant. Then his mother called. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't ask if I was okay. She said, "We need to talk." When she came over, she didn't sit down. She stood in the living room like she owned it. She told me she knew everything about the pregnancy, about the other woman. Then she said something I still hear in my head. "These things happen." I stared at her. She said men make mistakes, that children are blessings, that I should be understanding. I asked her one question. Understanding of what? She said, "You don't have a child yet." That was when I knew. This wasn't about right or wrong. It was about convenience. She told me the woman was young, that she needed support, that her son had responsibilities now. I asked where that left me. She looked at me and said, "You are strong. You will manage." Manage what? The humiliation? The betrayal? The fact that I was being pushed aside in my own home. After that visit, everything changed. He stopped trying to explain himself. He stopped pretending. He started coming home later, started answering calls outside, started sleeping with his back turned. One night, I heard him laughing on the phone. I asked who it was. He said, "It's nothing." But I knew that laugh wasn't for me anymore. Then one evening, his mother came again. This time, she brought a suitcase. She said it was temporary, that the pregnant woman needed a place to stay until things settled. I looked at the suitcase. Then I looked at him. He didn't meet my eyes. That was the moment I understood something painful. They weren't asking me. They were informing me. I said no. For the first time, I said no. His mother looked shocked. She said I was being difficult, that I was making things harder than they needed to be. He said, "Why can't you just be calm?" While my life was being rearranged without my consent. That night, we argued. Not loudly. Quietly. The kind of argument that ends things. He said maybe I should take a break. That space might help. I asked him where I was supposed to go. He didn't answer, because the truth was simple. He expected me to leave, quietly, gracefully, without causing trouble. But I was still paying the rent, still contributing, still there. And yet, I was already being erased. That was when I realized something important. If I stayed silent, I would disappear completely. And I wasn't ready to vanish from my own life. I didn't leave immediately. That's the part people don't understand. They ask, why didn't you just go? But leaving isn't one decision. It's hundreds of small ones you're too tired to make. I stayed because I was confused. Because every time I tried to pack, my hands would stop. Because this was still the place where my life had been built. Because I kept thinking maybe something would change. He didn't apologize again. Not really. He said things like, "I never planned for it to happen like this." Or, "You know, life isn't perfect." He never said, "I hurt you." He started acting like I was the problem. Like I was dragging things. If I cried, he said, I was stressing him. If I stayed quiet, he said I was cold. Nothing I did was right anymore. One evening, I overheard him on the phone. He was talking about apartments, about moving closer to work. He said, "Yeah, once everything settles." I asked him later what he meant. He said, "I didn't think you were listening." That answer told me everything. He was planning his future. I just wasn't in it. But here's the truth nobody talks about. I was still paying bills. Still buying groceries, still cleaning, still acting like someone who belonged there. Because leaving meant accepting something painful. That the man I loved had already moved on. That staying wasn't loyalty. It was denial. Then one night, I asked him directly, "Do you still want me here?" He didn't answer immediately. He sighed, and that sigh broke me. He said, "I don't know what I want right now." That was the moment it clicked. When someone wants you, they don't hesitate. They don't weigh you against someone else. They don't keep you around because it's convenient. I went into the bedroom and sat on the bed. I looked around. This room had seen birthdays, arguments, quiet mornings, plans, and now it felt like a place I was over. I started packing slowly, not dramatically. I folded clothes, put them into bags. He watched from the doorway. He didn't stop me. He didn't ask me to stay. He just stood there like a stranger. When I carried the first bag to the door, he said, "We'll talk later." But later never came, because sometimes later is just another lie. I didn't cry when I left. I cried in the car. I cried because I had stayed too long, because I had ignored signs, because I had loved someone who replaced me quietly. As I drove away, I realized something painful but important. I wasn't losing him. I had lost him a long time ago. I was just the last one to know. I didn't stop paying the bills immediately. That's another thing people don't understand. Even after I left, I still felt responsible. I still transferred money for the rent that month. Still paid my part of the utilities. Still covered things I knew he depended on. Because habits don't disappear just because love does. And because part of me still hoped he would notice. He didn't. He didn't call to ask if I was okay. Didn't check if I had settled in. Didn't ask where I was staying. But the moment I stopped sending money, he called. Not to apologize. Not to check on me. To ask about the bills. He said, "Why didn't you send the rent?" I was quiet for a moment. Then I said, "Because I don't live there anymore." He sounded confused. "But you always paid your part." That sentence hurt more than anything else he had said. Not "I miss you." Not "Can we talk?" Just money. I reminded him that he was the one who said he needed space. That he had asked me to leave. He said, "I didn't mean like this." Like what? Like consequences. He said things were hard now. That responsibilities had increased. That the pregnancy was expensive. I listened. And for the first time, I didn't rush to fix anything. I didn't offer help. I didn't suggest solutions. I didn't reassure him. I just said, "I can't do this anymore." He got quiet. Then he said something I'll never forget. "So after everything, you're just going to abandon me?" I almost laughed, because abandoning him would have meant leaving him alone. He wasn't alone. He had her. He had his family. He had a future he chose. What he lost was comfort, stability, someone to hold things together while he moved on. I told him I needed to heal. He said I was being selfish. That word used to break me. This time, it didn't. After that call, something shifted. Not dramatically, just quietly. I stopped checking my phone, stopped wondering what he was doing, stopped waiting for closure. Because closure doesn't come from conversations like that. It comes from deciding you're done bleeding for someone who isn't hurting anymore. Weeks later, I heard he moved. New place. Closer to work. A place I had helped him dream about. I felt a sting, but also relief, because I wasn't funding it anymore. I wasn't part of it. And for the first time in a long time, that didn't feel like a loss. It felt like freedom. Not the happy kind, the quiet kind, the kind that comes when you finally stop trying to earn love from someone who already left. After everything ended, people kept asking me the same question. How did you not see it coming? I didn't answer at first, because the truth isn't simple. I saw the signs. I just explained them away. I told myself relationships go through phases, that stress changes people, that love means patience. What I didn't understand was this: patience should not cost you your dignity. I thought love meant holding things together. I thought being supportive meant sacrificing myself. I thought loyalty meant staying, no matter how uncomfortable it became. But what I was really doing was teaching someone how to treat me. I taught him that my presence was guaranteed, that my money would still come, that my effort would stay, even when his disappeared. I taught him that I would adjust. And once someone learns that, they stop trying. That was the hardest realization. Not that he replaced me, but that I made it easy for him to leave without consequences. After I moved out, the silence was loud. No good morning texts. No updates. No explanations. At first, that silence hurt. Then it started to feel like peace. I noticed how much lighter my body felt, how I slept better, how my chest didn't feel tight all the time. I stopped walking on eggshells, stopped waiting for someone to choose me back. That's when I understood something important. Love should not feel like an audition. You should not have to prove your worth every day to someone who already knows what they're doing. Looking back, the relationship didn't end when he cheated emotionally. It ended when I became an option instead of a priority. I don't hate him, but I don't miss who I was with him. I miss the version of myself who thought love meant endurance, and I'm learning to forgive her. If you're listening to this and you feel familiar pain, if you're staying because you've invested too much, if you're paying bills, holding things together, and calling it love, please hear this. Being loyal to the wrong situation will drain you. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stop funding a life that doesn't include you. I didn't lose him. I found myself, and that mattered more than staying where I was no longer wanted.